All right. Welcome to the 48-hour art check, where we follow up with each other. Corey, Kerr, and myself follow up with each other once every 48 hours. We kind of reduced that to like 2 times a week, but we still check in the interim between. But the idea being we ask each other like 3 questions, which we'll be going through, kind of modeling for you guys. Just to hold each other accountable to getting progress on our personal projects, because we're firm believers that as artists, you should be working on personal projects. And we were both talking a couple of years back and just decided this would be the ultimate thing, like an accountability group for artists to kind of hold each other accountable to getting stuff done. And we made it really interesting last time by actually setting some parameters to what we were saying we were going to get accomplished. So there was a challenge thrown down. And so I have to say, well, maybe we can get into that with the check. But I have to say, just as a teaser, there's nothing more motivating than realizing if you don't do your work, you're going to have to work really hard doing something you hate. Yep. So anyhow, with that being said, should we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it. I was stealing the time while you were doing that to try to finish some stuff. So feel free to carry on and continue to talk about it. And Frank is asking, but where can I get a journal to keep track of my progress? Oh man. We need it. We've got it. Got the cover designed. That's about it. This is I want to say it's in the works, but it's not actually in the works. It's in the plans. It's in the pipe.
Yes. We had this whole crazy virus thing kind of hit the entire economy and world. It's put a brief pause on that. But yeah, we definitely want to get to that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So do you want to go first or do you want me to?
Yeah, let's I'll go first. Sure. So my incentive was that if I didn't do 100% of writing at a minimum of 30 minutes a day, that I would have to, and this was the challenge laid down by Corey, I'd have to do a pull up every hour for like 24 hours, which is insane, considering that like I have not kept with pull-ups in my workout. It's brutal. I don't know how Corey does them. And I literally at max, when I was doing them all, like trying to do them all the time and doing the reverse ones, got to the point where I could do 3. So it's 24, even with that spacing, would have just been, the next day would have sucked.
Yeah, that would have been. So you're saying that you did it then?
Yeah, so I had that fire lit, and this is what I got done. So I'll show you just really briefly. I did some junk writing, and so I'm like 3 pages in. And so like the first chapter kind of came the first time. And it's like we always say about the and this is all junk writing, right? So it's close to what it'll be. But I let myself kind of wander a little bit from the framework of the plot. I already have the structure worked out. But I had a lot of really fun surprises happen. And it was just kind of proof. Here, I'll remove this. But it was proof to me that like what we harp on to other creators, like when we've had some poor creatives come on here. And I want to throw that out there. If you're a creative who's struggling with getting going on personal projects, we are happy to have you guys on to grill the crap out of you as to why you're not working toward your dream. We've done it a couple times. There've been a few brave souls who've wanted to do that. And one of them was like a writer, and we were telling him, like, you just start, you do like 30 minutes a day. You're not going to feel it. You're not going to feel inspiration. And then suddenly when you're writing, like there's just this point where something's going to click and you're going to lose track of time, and you'll spend way more than 30 minutes a day. And case in point, this, like, I thought I would just force myself back into practice. It's been a while since I've written, because the way I work, I write like a chapter and then basically spend like 5 months working on executing that chapter in real time, because I like to use a lot of visuals because it's a visual medium. And so it's been a long time since I've like just written prose like for my comic, and it was really neat because it was totally like we always describe, where like 20 minutes in, these little threads tying to the past story that I hadn't planned just started appearing, and which is like super exciting when you're far into a work where you're like, oh, that's going to even look more concise than I planned it. Like, because I can pull like, and this is something, Corey, probably maybe you and I can talk about, but it's like the idea of like, you kind of want callbacks and repetition and kind of flow in your stories or in your animations. So there's visual motifs that'll tie throughout. There's references to previous things in the story. It gives people a sense of familiarity with the characters in the story when they get to recall something that is like a memory. It's almost equivalent to like in a conversation with a friend. They're like, remember that time when this happened? Like when you have callbacks like that, it's a key element to storytelling and to comedy actually too, where it's like you kind of set out a thread and then eventually you thread the needle. And when you do that moment of threading the needle, it's very fulfilling for a reader. But when you figure out how to do that in an unplanned way, on a structured story, it's like, to me, that's just like finding gold. So it was really fun. There were a few moments like that where structurally stuff has started coming together. And so I feel like I lit a fire, and it got to the point where yesterday when I had to stop writing, I felt pissed because I really wanted to write. But I have to say, both days I had this moment of like, I just don't have the time. And then I had that, but I don't want to do pull-ups. So thank you for that brutally terrible incentive.
It's not great.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that,
man.
Yeah. So how'd you do?
I didn't technically finish. So
Okay.
I probably owe some planks.
Did you get 80% done?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me take you through. So I just finished this while you're talking. Here's my L. You see the tongue move. Hold on, I've got to group those. L. Okay, that's one more done. Okay, so this is what I've got. I've got D, A, R, woo, which has, I got to get rid of the R there. Woo. And then, let's see, O. And each one of these has multiples. M, natural, S, F, which is my favorite one. I don't know why I like this one so much, but it's just funny.
That is funny.
And then, and I just finished L, which you can see like that. And so the ones I didn't get to are E and surprised. So I missed two. That's kind of where I'm at.
That's not too bad. That's really not too bad.
Yeah, but I would also say kind of the same thing that you were saying. A physical component to this is incredible because it was very interesting because I didn't get as far as I needed to last night. I was up quite late, but I only got like 5 of the 12 done that I needed to do. And I needed to be further because I don't have as much time on Mondays and Wednesdays because we do this.
Yeah.
So anyway, I told my family today at lunch, I said, okay, I really don't want to do planks. So we need to come up with a game plan as a family. So I normally like read stories to my daughter and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, Scar, if we're going to read tonight, you're going to read to me in my studio. while I'm doing this. And anyway, so she came down instead of me gumming up and stuff like that. So I got a little bit more time in. It was good, but the physical component, I don't think I could do. I think if that were something that we did consistently, I would commit to a lot less.
Yeah, I agree. I also think I'd start to resent it a bit as opposed to find it to be a useful tool. Yeah. But I do think it's nice to have, we should remember that for a toolkit if either of us are having like a lag in productivity. Yeah. It's not a bad incentive. I will say if people go back and watch episode, I think 210, where we established this, you guys can see I clearly also qualified my challenge to Corey by saying 80%. So any planks you do, sir, are on your own to do, but I would say you fulfilled the 80% component. So I think, which by the way is crazy ambitious. I didn't even think you'd hit the 80. I thought we'd be having a conversation about, so when are we doing these planks?
Right.
So yeah, because Corey was to do a plank every hour, and then we were like, well, that's a little much. Let's do a plank every other hour. Yeah, minute plank.
A 60-second plank. So I probably, because I told my wife, who's in much better shape than I am, and I was like, and she was like, that's not that big of a deal. And I was like, planks suck. They're really hard. She's like, yeah, you could do a 60-second. So I kind of want to I'm just going to do a 60-second plank just to see.
You should. It's not bad. And the way I got to where I could do them, I would struggle to do one every hour for 24 hours. But I've gotten to the point where I can do one for 60 seconds pretty easily. But in order to do that, I had to start in groups of 15 seconds and then release, and then 15 seconds, release, and 15 seconds, and then 30 seconds, and then go to 1 minute. But it's like, with the pull-ups where it's like close to impossible when you start. But then if you like work those muscles enough, like it becomes possible. Yeah. I don't know. I hate planks though.
Yeah. Frank is asking if we can see one plank. And so I'll do one plank at the end of the show.
I love it.
We'll see how long we can do it. But awesome. I mean, I have...
that's payment for the not getting to 100.
Right, yeah. I have as far as things that we've gotten done, I got all those mouth shapes done. I forgot actually that it wasn't just the mouth shapes. I also had to build, I had to go in and rebuild the teeth.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's 3/4. That makes a lot of sense.
And so I had to draw new sets of teeth because this is what the other ones look like when they're head on, and then these ones over here. Anyway, so it was a lot, and it was more than I anticipated in the first place. So I drew the teeth. I was able to reuse the tongue, so that the tongue still works. But yeah, so I had to. I mean, that's mostly what I did last night was get the teeth done, and then yeah. So, but it was good. And the whole time I was thinking, oh man, I should be recording this. And I was like, oh, I don't have time. So I kind of realized how much a lot of the tutorials that I make, like how much they slow me down.
Yeah. It's a weird balance. I mean, that's part of why I pulled back on doing so many YouTube videos, like with process of my comic, because I just noticed it was like slowing the creation of my comic.
Yeah.
But I think I'll still probably do those with inking because it's a little easier that way. Like you just kind of do a motion capture or whatever.
Yeah. Also, I checked out, this is probably plans, but I checked out some equipment from work.
Oh, sweet.
And I now, because we're going remote next semester, and so they're like, hey, there's no students here, so if you guys want to use some of this equipment, I was like, okay. So this, my friends who teach video, they were joking. They're like, we're going to call your studio Overkill Studio from now on, because all of my YouTube videos, once I get all this stuff set up, are going to be a 3-camera shoot.
I love it. So you'll be able to like turn and be like, so as I was saying.
Yep. I've got 3 NX100s hooked up to a what is that? Oh, a Blackmagic ATEM HDMI switcher. And so the ATEM turns HDMI signals into one USB signal. And so it'll feed into StreamYard and into OBS as a single webcam, but I'll be able to switch it live as if it's like a live professional broadcast. So
what you got to do is a lot of those like 80s transitions where you turn to the camera and then you're like, oh, hello, I didn't see you there.
Yeah, I'm totally going to do that. I'm going to have one camera, because it's not a big studio. I'm going to have one camera just off in the corner that's just doing a behind the scenes shot just for no reason. But it's really timely because there's a brand that sent me a contract to be one of their influencers. So I've got an endorsement deal for video. So
nice.
I was kind of describing the setup. I was like, yeah, I'll do a video and it'll be really cool. So I'm going to do a studio tour of my setup and then feature some of their products in the tour. So
that's rad.
Yeah, it'll be cool. So it'll be fun.
Awesome. That's very cool. That's good news too. You should be endorsed often. I still think artists should be like NASCAR racers,
just have logos all over our t-shirts.
Just like Pentel. Like anyhow, so I love it. So okay, that's a lot.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We're doing done. So challenges.
For me, the main challenge has been getting the remote team equipped and setting the parameters for that. But it's a challenge that's ebbing down because the structure's more clear now, and I've also delineated my work hours and stuff like that, so it's workable. But it is fascinating. I like the juggling from home, and I have been really enjoying the time. Actually,
yeah,
I've been enjoying kind of like a simulated freelance type experience because I got really used to that years ago, and it had been a while. But it's amazing how quickly you kind of, especially when you've done it before, you're like, oh, okay, I know the ropes on this. Like,
right.
I like that. I like being able to like finish a project in between emails, like pick up my guitar and noodle around. Like that's a fun freedom that I like about it. So
I like walking upstairs and making myself lunch, not having to pay for it or begrudge the fact that I didn't pack a lunch.
Yeah, no, which I that's one of my weaknesses when I work at a place is that I never pack lunches, and then I'm like, I hate fast food, but I didn't pack lunch. So
yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So yeah, that's I'd say that was like the biggest challenge is just kind of adjusting with that, but it's pretty fun too. Like today I managed to weed more of my yard, which is a pretty big backyard, and so now it's like about a quarter of the way done, which is kind of insane. I don't know the exact square footage of it, but it's a big yard of just tons of weeds. So yeah. So
my yard, I've almost had all the snow melt off of my lawn, so that's so I don't have to deal with the yard yet. But we're getting close. We're getting close to having to deal with the yard.
What is the aftermath of the snow? Like, do you end up with grass that grew a lot, or do you just? I mean, is it just not growing at that point because of the cold?
No, the grass dies in between. It dies each season and then comes back, and so it's dead now. And I don't know if it's technically dead because it's kind of hibernating or whatever, but it's totally brown and matted down. And the real danger is sometimes you can get snow mold, where if the snowpack melts underneath just a little bit, then you just have like water that sits on top of your lawn and then molds. And so as it melts, a lot of people will go out there and kind of rake it up to try to hope that, and I don't. I'm just like, it is what it is.
I'm one of those people who'd be like, yeah, it's just I'm gonna deal with the snow mold then because I'm not breaking snow.
Yeah, and so anyway, so it just so it doesn't look like there's any snow mold, but I did, but it snowed 2 days ago.
Nice.
Like the beginning of April, I feel like I should be done with snow at this point in time.
Yeah, that's a little strange to be snowing in April, but
so
it's the times we live in. I'm not surprised by anything anymore.
Right. So but yeah, as far as the challenge goes, it's pretty much just working from home. I've had several things crop up at work that have pushed me back a bit. I can't publicly talk about, but just things that I shouldn't need to deal with, but I have to because certain people made choices. So, and they're time consuming. I've probably spent, if I add up, I've probably spent about 12 to 13 hours this week working on that stuff that shouldn't have happened. And so that eats into my schedule. So that pushes back grading, which it's just got a domino effect of all the stuff that I should have been getting done.
Yeah.
So, and then also, that stuff is very emotionally taxing. And so that like spills over, like I'll come home or I'll walk upstairs from dealing with this stuff and my wife will be like, "Are you okay?" So I know that it's like showing.
Yeah. No,
and so,
I know.
And so that's hard. That's just an emotional and mental taxing thing to have to deal with some of that stuff. So.
Yeah. And I think like some people, I don't know. I think when you're in leadership, it's like half of the stuff that's difficult isn't necessarily even the time consuming nature of stuff. It's just that there's certain things in leadership that get really heavy, like really heavy. And then you kind of have to carry that around. And that's kind of why, it's like there's groups of people who can do that. And there's some people who can't. And luckily we're able to, but it's also, there's moments where I'm like, many times when I've been in similar circumstances where I'm like, I miss like just having like a cash register and just hitting a button and that was the job. And
not knowing that anybody was actually dealing with stuff like this.
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes
blissfully
you want to go back
unaware.
you want to go back from behind the curtain, Yeah. But yeah. All right. Well, that's a heavy challenge, man. That's a lot of time too. So that's twice as impressive that you worked through it and got like the 80% done. So.
Yeah, it's nice because if I didn't have the Artcheck, I'll be perfectly honest. If I didn't have the Artcheck, my coping mechanism would have been video games. I would have come downstairs and I would have played video games all night until I went to sleep. But I came downstairs and I was like, I actually have stuff to do. And it's still just as therapeutic to like work on your own projects. And actually at the end of that, you get the extra added bonus of like the feeling of accomplishment rather than the feeling of like waste.
Yeah.
And so I love video games and I still play it quite a bit, but I if I play all evening, even if I don't have something to do, I don't feel fulfilled afterwards. But if I play for like an hour, sometimes I feel like, oh, that was a nice break, nice relax, or whatever. But I mean, if I work on my art all evening, I actually do feel accomplished. I do feel like I've achieved something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that's one of the draws of doing personal creative work is the fact that like it's both entertaining, exercises your mind, and then also you end up with a result. So it's like but it's a pain in the butt to get to. And then and it is work. So it's like, but yeah, I think most positive things are kind of like that, where it's like the time invested and the release involved is very similar to entertainment.
Right.
But the aftermath is like actually more long term, which I think is cool. So
well, and Stephen Pressfield talks about that in The War of Art, where he says you can tell whether or not you're using something as a numbing behavior by how empty you feel afterwards. He's like, it's not like the behavior is wrong.
Yeah.
But if afterwards you feel empty, then you were using that as a point of resistance to avoid what you should have been doing. But if afterwards you're like, oh, it was fun, then it's fine. And it could be the same thing.
Yeah. So I love it. That's a really good point.
So plans.
All right. So my plans are to continue the writing. I'd like to probably have like, at least like 4 or 5 more pages, and maybe a little bit start polishing a little bit of the draft. But I'm actually feeling really good about it, because I'm like, if I can get in the flow of writing it in that interim period where it's being reviewed by publishers right now, it's like, it also behaves in a very similar way to what you were talking about with video games, where it's like, otherwise I'm going to be playing video games or noodling on the guitar or doing something to keep myself occupied and also keep my mind off of the pending thing. Like, I want to know what these people think of the book, and like, that can be a real annoying kind of sense of just like, it's the not knowing can be the worst. And so like, for me to ebb that, like being productive and actually getting progress on the next thing, because best case scenario, if I do get a publisher, I'm going to need that second book written. And so if I delay and just panic, like, will I get a publisher and will this blah, 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 and like go down those like, will it or won't it happen kind of rabbit holes that my mind has a tendency to do.
Yeah.
I'll end up with a worse result, even if the best case happens, because I've lost all that time. Right. Whereas like now it's like perfect timing to kind of get some writing done, get it worked out, so that I can hit the ground running if I do get a publisher. And if I don't, I can hit the ground running to get the book out and still have more progress on the next book. So yeah. Awesome. That was a long-winded,
no, I like it.
Answer.
No,
I'd also still like to do a little more music recording too, just for fun.
Yeah. Are you guys, you're probably not able to get to the EP because you got to be in the same room, right?
Yeah, we're doing it in a studio, and we don't have access to that studio or the guy who's recording us or the band. So we're kind of we're in lockdown. But I'd like to do like some acoustic stuff just for fun. So yeah.
Cool. I like the idea of like, I'm going to do this because regardless of which way it goes, I need to do it. Like if you don't get a publisher, then you still need to do that. You still need to write the next book. If you do get a publisher, they're going to want you to write the next book. Yeah. And so either way, procrastinating or avoiding it it's not logical. It feels like it is, because you're like, oh, there's this really big important thing. I like that you process that out loud, because I think that's important to hear. So
yeah. And it's hard with stuff like that. I mean, you know the feeling. It's like when you send stuff out, to like, even for those, like for the animation where you're sending it out for these festivals, it's like, no matter how well put together you are as a person, there's still a part of you that's like, did it get in? Like, and it's like, that doesn't shut off. And the only thing that shuts it off really is creative output. And then when you're in that flow and you get hit by the muse that Pressfield talks about, that kind of appears when you're faithful to your work. It's like, that's the thing that kind of ebbs that thought process, So yeah. So what are you thinking?
Okay, so I've got a show. I've got my mirror set up here, and so I make faces in the mirror like this. I go E, O, wah. It's like a really embarrassing thing, because I was gonna do it while you were talking, and then I was like, I don't want to make weird faces on camera. But anyway, so I have those letter forms left. I'm gonna do surprise, right? And then when I do that, I look in the mirror and I go, okay, I see like the bottom row of teeth. I don't see the top row of teeth. The mouth moves down. So like anybody who's looking at what I did and they're like, oh, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Like I don't have a map of what that looks like. Like I'm literally like looking at myself in the mirror and then turning my head trying to get the right angle. And then I draw it and then I look back and then I draw it and then I look back. And so anyway, so I'm going to do that for the rest of the things. And then I will rig this character up in Character Animator. That'll probably get me the next couple days. Because I don't think it took me a week and a half to do it the first time. Because I didn't know what I was doing. So I did it wrong a bunch of times and had to redo a bunch of stuff. I'm pretty sure I've done it right this time. And I'm pretty sure I know the process of Character Animator this time. And so I think by Thursday night, I can have everything rigged. Nice. And so then my plan is I want to animate a pitch. And the pitch is I want other artists to participate in my animation by having their artwork featured in my animation. And so I want to do an animated pitch of an example of what is going on. And so this character that I'm building right now will be doing the pitch. And I'm animating her doing the pitch, but in the background, we're going to see her walking by what she's talking about.
Nice.
And then there's the other character that I did where I've got the forward 3/4 and 3/4 back view. He's going to be in it as well. I'm going to try to see if I can do it without storyboarding it, because I have a decent idea in my head, and it's not like it's a film. It's just going to be like a little pitch video. Because I'm so unfamiliar with this new step in the process of lip sync, the way that I'm doing it, I have no idea how far I'm going to get with that. But that's the next step after this, is to get that pitch going. Yeah.
Do you think, have you had a lot of success doing animations without storyboarding?
Sometimes, not often, but
I would say do like a loose breakdown, like super loose breakdown, just so you have a map.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to, but
no, I know with this one, it's going to be 2 shots. Okay. I already know the 2 shots. Okay. And so the biggest part, the hardest part, honestly, is going to be that I need to probably design 2 different full-on backgrounds. And honestly, I probably won't even get to animating until I have that done, and that'll take me well past Monday, now that I'm talking it out.
Yeah,
because they're like city scenes and stuff.
Yeah, that can take a while.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know, but that's future Corey's problem, because I still have to finish the lip syncing and getting the animation done, and probably writing the script or whatever.
I love it. So. That's exciting, man. Like I said, I've been really impressed just to see the evolution of it, where the automation of that mouth movement thing at first was like cool, but not quite synced, and like you kind of kept at it, and every iteration it just got crisper and crisper until eventually it was just super on point. And I'm like, oh, that's going to save you like loads of work. So it's fun to see the process and see you grow in it and stuff. So
yeah, and it's it will save me a ton of time. And so I mean I've pretty much blown over 2.5 weeks on this now. And so I'm behind the schedule that I wanted to be on. But I think it'll actually make it so that I can get to the point where because I want to produce an episode a month. Of like a 2 to 4 minute episode a month. So this is the Milli Vanilli program. So they've automated it.
He's gonna have the lip sync. That's the pitch video. As the character is gonna be like, "Girl, you know it's true," and then like it's gonna keep going, and they're gonna stop or go out of sync with it. So okay, I have a very brief topic.
Okay.
From what we were talking about. I was going into this thinking we shouldn't do a topic. I think we should spend like 5 or 6 minutes talking about this, which ties into this lip syncing, because one of my pet peeves in comics is when people have word bubbles and the mouth that is expressing the word bubble is holding a vowel that isn't even in the words that are being spoken. It breaks the illusion that that character is speaking. And so actually it was just dawning on me that like one of the things that Corey's going through with the mouth movements in animation, way more important in animation because you're literally going to notice every movement. But in comics, a lot more important than I think people realize. Like one of the best things in comics, the thing Corey was just describing with that mirror and holding a face like that.
Yeah.
If you watch cartoonists working, a lot of the time they're making weird expressions, even if they're not looking, just to feel it when they're drawing it. So they're like, okay, I can feel my mouth's tucked up right here.
And I've caught myself several times doing it and then measuring with my fingers. I'm not even looking in the mirror. I'm like, yeah, that's bigger. It goes out more or up more, or my lip drops. And I actually am feeling my face. But even just doing it, you have what do they call that? Proprioceptive response, which is a sense of what your face looks like, even when you're not looking at it, or what your muscles are doing.
Yeah.
Like if I close my eyes and I hold my arm up, I know that my hand's in a fist. I know my arm is in a specific position, just from the tenseness of different muscles, because I'm familiar with my body, and so you can actually act that out. And it's really good. But I mean, I've been watching cartoons in slow motion a lot the last couple of weeks. Like Fairly Odd Parents and stuff like that. And I'm trying to figure out like how everybody does it. And it's fascinating because certain cartoons you can read their lips. Some of them their jaws just flapping around and they're hoping that you don't notice. But there are some cartoons that they are so lip sync accurate that you can read their lips. And I've seen, illustrations like that where it's like, oh, I know what they're about to say, right? I mean, if you see somebody, you know that an F is going to come out of their mouth and that they're angry. You can guess what that word is probably going to be. And so, one of the things that bothers me is when you just have like talking heads and everybody's just like, and it's just like,
or their mouth is just like this.
Yeah, it's talking head with
talking like
no mouth.
No way we talk.
Right. Yeah. So
I think if you're making comics and stuff, that was the only thing is I think it's really important to like try to find a key vowel or a key sound or a key like point in the word that's an important word in the sentence of the word bubble that you're going to have the character really actually making their mouth express that sound.
Yeah.
And I think that helps kind of keep people in the illusion that it's speaking, as opposed to like you break the illusion the second you just have a word balloon pointed away. So not a huge topic, but I figured that was a bite-sized one we could do without rambling too long.
No, I like it. I like that. And if you want to know what that is called, it's called phonemes. So let me write that. I didn't know this 2 or 3 weeks ago. So phonemes,
not phenomes, but
not phonemes, which is what I'm saying.
Different things.
Phonemes. And if you look up phoneme lip sync, then you will see all of the different mouth shapes that we make when we make our sounds. And so
that's awesome. And if you want to see some fun, wacky ones, from what I recall, like watch some classic, I'm blanking out on his name now, but Ren and Stimpy.
Right.
So
it's Krasinski.
Don Chris Belushi, or
I can't remember his last name. Yeah.
Krasinski, I think.
I think Krasinski. He turned out to be a pretty horrible person.
Oh, he's a creep. But but I will say, like, just for weird, amazing kind of mouth movements where like the tongue hits the roof of the mouth on the T, and like just crazy mouth movements that go really well with the words. I think that's a really good example.
Yeah, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but Kricfalusi.
Yeah, it's Chris Belushi. Yeah.
Yeah, John K.
Yeah. So anyhow, check that out. Really, really strong animation. Please do not check out the person or model their behavior in any.
Not a great person.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right. So we will see everybody on Monday. And where can we find your stuff, Josh?
You can find my stuff at joshuakemble.com. You can also see a preview of my comic about faith and mental illness that's currently being pitched to multiple publishers at quarterlystories.com. Yeah.
Cool.
And otherwise, you can see me in my backyard weeding.
Just Google Earth. Is that where we can find? You can see me at coreykerr.com. And I haven't put anything up on Instagram this week, but I will be doing that and some stuff on YouTube as well. But yeah, that's mainly it. So I took a little time off of Instagram and Twitter from my phone, so it's cut down on some of my use of that stuff. But I am still there. It was. I'm
gonna have to maybe next topic we can talk about vacations from social media on your phone. I'd be curious about it.
Working at home hack. Just delete all the social media apps off of your phone. They're still there. You don't have I didn't stop using them. But I just don't have them buzzing at me every 5 seconds. And so now I can go in and I put them back on. I did that for about a month. I put them back on and then turned all the notifications off. And so now I go to them rather than them inserting themselves into my life. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I did want to call out. So my brother Greg was saying, have you seen the Bad Lip Sync series? And yes, it's brilliant. And actually, it really highlights how effective just following those phonemes accurately really creates the illusion of speech, because you would swear that's actually what's being said. And Corey and I have exchanged multiple videos of the Yoda that they did. So he introduced me to the My Stick version of the Seagulls song, and I was wiser and better for it. So thank you, Corey.
And I will tell you this: my son sings parts of songs. He's not quite 2 yet, but he sings part of Seagulls Stop It Now and part of Into the Unknown from Frozen 2. And so he goes, known. That's it all the time. No. just
it sounds like
two things.
Yeah. When that Seagulls video came out, that's back when Kevin was here and we were commuting to work together. And so we'd be driving and just be like, stop it now. For an hour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That may be one of the catchiest tunes that has ever come out of a parody situation.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Cool. Okay.
All right.
We'll see everybody on Monday. Go make stuff and do things and wash your hands.
Yeah. Stay safe. Bye.